Welcome to another episode of Let's Talk Quality, the podcast. My name is Hemish and since 2023, I've been interviewing some of the most talented and well-respected quality leaders in the pharma and biotech industry to learn how they got to where they are now. This season is all about our guests and their journeys. Why they got into science, how they got into quality, their biggest challenges and greatest learns, and the highs and lows along the way. Every week, I'll be bringing you a new guest with the purpose of inspiring the next generation of quality leaders. Welcome to Season 3. I hope you enjoy the show.
Hi all, welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk Quality, the podcast. Today I'm joined by Megan Callan. Megan is the Vice President of Quality at Abeona Therapeutics. Abeona have recently had approval by the FDA for the first ever FDA-Approved topical gene therapy for treating wounds in patients with RDBE. So ZevaSkin is the product, and it treats rare and severe genetic skin disorders. So for anyone that is in that clinical setting, going to commercial for the first time, this is a great episode to listen to. You'll learn about all the challenges that come with going from clinical into commercial quality and how to overcome them. So let's get into it. Hi, Megan. Welcome to Let's Talk Quality.
Hi.
Nice to have you on the show. We've been speaking about this for some time. I know we've got some mutual connections that we both know. We were just laughing about off air with Ed and John. I am excited to talk through your journey, and particularly the last sort of year or so at Abeona. Look, why don't you give the listeners a quick introduction about yourself, and then we'll get into it.
Okay, great. Thank you. It's great to be here. My name is Megan Callan. I am the Vice President of Quality at Abeona Therapeutics. I've been working here for a little over 4 years. It's been quite an exciting ride here at Abeona, but throughout my career, I've had the pleasure of working with a lot of great people, two of which we were just talking about off air, and in a lot of different industries and environments. So this is my first time in cell and gene therapy, which is very different compared to sterile manufacturing and over-the-counter products and stuff like that. So it's been very interesting watching the industry evolve over time.
Very good. So firstly, congratulations for the on Abeona moving into commercial manufacturing for ZevaSkin.
Yes.
So we will talk through that journey. But I suppose let's take it back to start with. How did you initially get into science?
Yeah, my mom always wonders this sometimes too. It's kind of funny because she's like, would have never guessed it. But, thinking back, it's one of those things. I think it was an area that I did like in high school, but also where I felt like I could do something and make a difference, positively impact somebody's life, and just, have something that I was doing that was meaningful. And that has been the case ever since I graduated college and was working in the industry. So
nice. And then when was your first role in science? How did that come about?
So I started working actually in QC microbiology.
Okay.
I worked in several microbiology labs before going into quality. It was always very interesting. I have to say, when I was in college, micro was not my favorite class. But after I got out of college and started working within the industry, specifically within microbiology, I absolutely loved it. And it has so eye-opening in so many different respects. And honestly, there was a couple of jobs I had. I was like, well, that college course now makes sense. Industrial micro, one company I worked for, made it make sense. So I had a better appreciation for it after college rather than when I was there. But
that's often the way, isn't it? What was it that you loved about it?
I don't know. There's just so many different things. So many things I never really thought about, especially with microbiology, like all the different organisms and where they come from, and where you don't want them in your manufacturing facility,
Right.
and just, kind of how you can watch them through a facility sometimes with the environmental monitoring that we do. So that was always interesting. And then I did a lot of IDs of bacteria and mold, and that was always interesting to me too. Just mold is fun to look at under a microscope. So
I bet. When was your first actual quality role?
So that was actually where I worked previously.
Right.
Was my first introduction into like a QA role.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it came about because the company I was working for at the time had closed. So I was without a job and looking for another job. And a woman I work with there, she actually was, she worked with a consulting group. And we were talking on our last day, and she had said her husband asked, like, "Are you going to go back to consulting?" And she's like, "I don't know if I'm going to do that." And I'm like, "Well, how do you do that?" Like, I was kind of curious how that worked. And so, she worked as a consultant for a company, and they would send her out to different jobs and stuff like that. And she's like, "Well, if you want their number, I'll give it to you." I was like, "Okay." And I needed something to do, and I wasn't sure that I wanted to move because I literally just moved my husband to Ohio 2 years prior. So started working with this company, and they sent me to a place that was actually local in Cleveland, which was great. And I started working in QA there, and it was very interesting. I enjoyed it a lot, and so I feel like my experience working at a bunch of the different companies that I did work for, especially in micro, we got to see and work with a lot of different departments. So I feel like that really helped making the transition from QC micro to QA different, and it really helped with that transition. So
You've been with Abeona now for around coming up to 5 years, 4.5 years.
we're a little over 4 years now, yeah.
Okay,
So
fine.
yeah,
So
it's been a while.
how did the role initially come around? So you moved to Ohio, and then you
Mhm.
joined Abeona sort of 2 years after that move. Was that right?
No, actually, no. So we moved to Ohio, and I was working for a CDMO, and
Okay,
they unfortunately closed after 2 years. And so after
got
they
you.
closed, then I ended up working for a different small company within QA there. They did GLP and GMP assays. So they did
Mm,
contract testing for different companies, and I ended up working there. They were purchased by Charles River not long
yeah,
after I'd started there. So I was there for about 7 years. And then I transitioned over to Abeona. There was
yeah.
a open role in their QA department. So I applied for that, and it's been very different ever since.
I imagine, yeah. So
Yeah.
Ohio, you wouldn't think there are huge amounts of biotech and pharma and biotech in Ohio, do you? But there is some activity there, I suppose. And
Yeah. Yeah, I
with
was gonna say
with
it's growing some. I will say the state of Ohio is really trying to foster that as well.
yeah,
So there's, different groups. So in Cincinnati, there's a little bit of a pharma pocket.
yeah,
Columbus, bigger, and then Cleveland, it's a little smaller, but it's
yeah,
there.
yeah. Right. Can you see yourself? Do you see yourself staying in Ohio now for the foreseeable? Like,
Yeah,
do you see that as home?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
I
great.
like it a lot. It reminds me of where I went to college, and
Yeah,
also my husband and I are originally from Pennsylvania, so the
yeah,
weather's very similar and whatnot. So
yeah.
really like it here.
Very good. When you started with Abeona, take us back 4.5 years. Talk about what Abeona looked like as a company, what I suppose, the vision was at the time. The feel of the company, the culture of the company, the size, and all of that sort of stuff. Paint a picture what it looked like.
Okay, well, it was a lot smaller than it currently is today. We were about 40, 50 employees at the time when I started. All the departments were pretty small. Um, we weren't really growing too much at the time. We had a couple of lead candidates in our pipeline. Our drug product now, Zevaskin, that was one of them. So that was in clinical trial. The company had been put on a hold for a little bit of a period of time before, and then COVID obviously made things difficult as well with the trial, just because the patients that we're treating, they just are already their immune systems are already pretty compromised, and they're battling something pretty devastating. So getting them to travel during COVID was not an option.
Mm,
So I had started actually 2021. So, we're still in the height of the pandemic, but things are starting to loosen up, and we're starting to actually, treat patients again and whatnot. So it was a really exciting time to be here for that, because everybody had told me about that when I interviewed, but I didn't actually get to witness it yet until
mm,
probably about 2 months after I started. We were treating a patient, which was incredible to see, because our product is very unique. It's an autologous product.
yeah.
So it's, specifically for one patient, and that's it. So it's an incredible experience. It's like nothing I've ever seen manufactured before, and nothing
Mm,
I've ever experienced to have to release so quickly, because we have hours for our expiry, not weeks or months like most
mm,
products do.
yeah.
So with that, we finished our clinical trial. We submitted our BLA with the agency, and we just had to wait for them to review that and get back to us, which they did, and they approved our product. So now we have we can commercially manufacture our product, which is great. We are all waiting for that day. We knew it would come. We just didn't know when. So we got there 4 years later, which was really great. And it's an awesome feeling for everybody in the team. And with that, our teams are now growing. So we're up to, I think, 184 employees. HR just told me that today. So, we've almost quadrupled since I've started here, which is really great. We have a lot of, construction going on, we're expanding. And so it's the culture is, everybody's a buzz, everybody's excited. So there's a lot of really good things going on.
Yeah. So it was all, early stage clinical development just after the pandemic, 2021. From a quality perspective, what did the team look like and what was your role when you first started?
So our team was quite small. When I started as the QA manager. So I was the head of our QA team here, and there was 4 other individuals within QA. Okay. So we were quite small.
Fine. So and what does it look like now?
Oh my gosh, I've not counted the team yet. I believe within all of quality, so which is our validation team, assay development, QC, and QA, we are up to, I think, about 60 employees within those functions. So I think in QA is probably 25 individuals.
Yeah.
I know QC is a bit more than them, but we are a growing company, and our quality department has expanded quite a bit, which is great.
So there's obviously there are lots of changes that occur over the period of going from early stage clinical development, almost sort of semi-startup mode, wearing plenty of hats, small team, to then building for commercialization, submitting a BLA, getting that approved, and now preparing or building a commercial quality function. Talk us through that journey from going from 4 people to whatever it is now, to a large quality organization. And I know there's a lot to unpack here, right? But if you had to sort of look back at your organization at the start versus sort of the start, the middle to end, what were the key milestones? What were the key challenges that you had to sort of encounter over the years? What did that look like, and how did you I suppose combat that? Because that's a huge journey. It's everything that lots of people, lots of organizations will want to try and get to, and you've achieved that. So talk us through some of that whole journey in terms of the challenges, the obstacles, and how you've overcome some of those situations.
Okay. Yeah, no, it was there were some obstacles. They weren't too bad, I would have to say. Mostly it was, just because financially we're not commercially manufacturing anything. So, there's always the, struggle of we're relying on, other people and investors, and we don't have a commercial product. So every time there was an ask for headcount, that was always, I would say, difficult early on. But obviously now it's been a lot easier, and we do need to grow our teams in order to, be able to meet our capacity that we're anticipating. So, but when we first started, it was a very small team, and everybody was kind of trained to do everything, if you will. So it was, trying to grow out the team and make a structure that makes sense. So now we have within our QA team multiple functions. So we have supplier quality, quality operations, and quality systems, and getting them to kind of specialize a little bit more in different QA functions, rather than it just kind of being a mismatch. Whoever has the time or bandwidth, and them kind of picking up in different areas. So they're more specialized now than they were when I started. So that's been great to see those teams grow into those roles. And they've been evolving that as well, which is the one thing I like to see with the teams. Our QC team is the same way. They have continued to bifurcate. So now we have more of a QC micro team and a QC analytical team. And within them, they have some sub teams as well. So that's been really great to see, because again, when I started, QC was pretty much in the same boat as QA. Everybody just kind of did all this, whatever they were trained to do. Everybody was trained to do the same things, and now they're, becoming more specialized. So I love the fact that my teams will look at their structure, and that they are very cognizant of what that looks like now, and not necessarily married to what that is now, and thinking about and envisioning what that will look like in the future, and making sure that they are accounting for that expanding as well. So that's been the one nice thing to see, especially with, our QC and our QA teams, just because they are our larger teams, that they are accounting for that. And it's great to see the managers now with ideas and suggestions of how to kind of change and shape the groups. So that's been, I find that very rewarding in my career, to see that and giving them the opportunity to kind of shape what they think is best for their teams.
Yeah. And then from a mindset, so from a mindset perspective, going from clinical to commercial, especially when you don't have, if it's your first time and you don't have people within your organization that have that commercial mindset or experience, how do you go about coaching that sort of
Yeah,
shift from clinical to
that's a fun
commercial?
one. So thankfully everybody is very patient focused and whatnot. So that's really helpful for all of our teams. But I was going to say it is a very different mindset going from clinical to commercial. And so it is basically making sure that, I have a team of people who feel empowered to make decisions based on all the information they have. We might not have all of the information we need, but we make the best decision we can with the information we have. So making sure that they are empowered to make those decisions when they need to, because sometimes we don't have the luxury of a lot of time. They have minutes sometimes to make the decisions, not hours or days, like you might in other types of manufacturing. So that's been something to work through with everybody, as far as making sure also too that they're going to the right people and that we're pulling the right teams together to make those decisions then. So when I started, everybody kind of relied on QA just to maybe tell them what to do. Always went to maybe one person within QA, and as the teams grow, it's making sure that that person that they always went to in the past might not be the person that they should be going to now, and making sure that the teams are seeing that and know who to go to within the groups, especially as we grow.
Yeah, that's a lot. And that's the challenge, isn't it? As you grow, as the quality head, as you grow, you want your people going to your direct reports so that you don't become the bottleneck.
Yeah. Yeah, I want them to do that. And I also want them to hear certain things from like our head of QA
Yeah,
and from our head of QC rather than hearing it from me.
yeah,
So it's making sure that I actually don't talk as much in meetings sometimes and making sure that they are speaking up and saying those things. That way other people are hearing it from them and not always expecting to hear it from me.
How have you had to change then as a leader, going, getting a bigger job? Because it's happened relatively quickly, hasn't it? From
Yeah,
when you
I would
started
say.
to now, and so it's a steep learning curve.
Mhm,
Like if you had to sort of look back at your personal development plan over the last 3-4 years as a leader,
mhm.
what could you give us an insight into some of the key things that you've had to work on, to enable that empowerment and to to build your team for
Mhm.
success in the future?
Yeah, so it's been interesting. Like I said a little bit ago, I've had to be quiet more and not be the first voice. Sometimes speaking when we do have a meeting and there's an issue and we're going to talk through it. Like I, I will tell you what I'm thinking. I always have an opinion about something, and I will say those things. But it's really having to stop myself from doing that right away and letting
Mm,
others in the room, start to speak up or asking them more questions and kind of drawing the answers out of them rather than just giving them. Because if I do that, that doesn't help anybody. So
mm,
there's been a lot more of that, and making myself and forcing myself to do that. I was actually just talking to our one head of QC, and she was talking about this and how she's got to stop just people come to her and just answering their questions and them going to the manager that they should be going to within her team. And I
mm,
was like, yeah, it's really hard. She's like, yes, I like to give those answers and I like to have that communication with everybody, but it's really making everybody understand that they don't always have to come to you and that there's other people they should be going to first.
mm. Yeah.
I feel like as your career grows or whatever, you kind of become the decider in things, not necessarily the one that should be talking the most. Just when a decision needs to be made, you then make that decision based off of all the information that you have then. So
Yeah, but it's difficult. It's really difficult because you are trying to upskill your managers and get your other members of the team to go to them,
mhm,
but you're also upskilling them at the same time. So there's a level of trust that you need to place in your direct reports, isn't there? In the first place. So I suppose, like from a development perspective for your direct reports, how do you sort of empower them, but also keep build the trust in them that they can
Mhm.
give the right answers or do make the right calls when people come to them?
So there's this, I don't know, maybe you could call it a mantra or something I adopted a while ago when I was working at Charles River.
Hmm.
And it was, there's nothing done that can't be undone. And I remember telling this to a lot of the QA auditors there, because they would be so concerned that they would miss something. And that, this report, there would be this one number that's wrong because they missed it. And it was like, but all these other people looked at it before you. So not everything has to fall like completely on your shoulders.
Yeah.
So it's, just really, reminding everybody that yes, you're going to make decisions. You may make a mistake, and that's fine. We're going to learn from it. We're going to fix it, and we're going to move forward. So there's nothing, that we can't do that can't be undone. So it's, really trying to get them comfortable with that thought. So that way they do feel like they can make those decisions, and that even if it turns out it wasn't the right one, it'll be okay. Because I really think that sometimes, some people get paralyzed with fear of making the wrong decision, that they make no decision at all. And that's not helpful either. So we need to, give them a safe place where they can, make those decisions. And if it's wrong, it's wrong. We'll fix it and we'll move forward. And that they feel that way and that they know that, they're not going to be in trouble for it and that everybody has their back for it. So
that's not easy though, is it?
no,
To
it's
instill
not.
that culture.
No, it's
it
not.
takes some really good, strong leadership right from the top.
Yeah. No, it's hard to let go of that. And, but at the same point in time, like you just have to, it has to happen for you to learn from it. And if everything's safe, and you're never going to learn anything, you're never going to grow, you're never going to develop. So it's just, making sure that they have those opportunities to do those things.
Yeah, fine. Let's talk a bit about org chart planning as you grow. You mentioned there, getting the key functions in place. How do you sort of make those decisions? Right, we need this person in place, we need this person in place, this is where we want to go. Like, how are those decisions made when the company hasn't got the experience of going there in the first place? You're all doing it for the first time. Talk us through that.
So I like that one a lot, actually, because it gives me a chance to sit down and talk with, all of my direct reports as far as, like where their teams are and where they think they need to go. And so, we have, conversations about that, and I can, make suggestions or try to lead them one way or the other, but sometimes they have a better idea than I do. And that is great. Or, they know what their teams need more than I do at times. So, it's really having those conversations and listening to them, as much as I want to tell them what to do or maybe, dictate those things. It's really just listening to them. Our head of QA, he will tell me when I am wrong, and I appreciate that or if I'm not thinking about something correctly, and this is why, and he has no problems doing that. And that is, what every leader needs is, people who feel comfortable telling you anything, not just what they think you want to hear. So growing our organization, like we really, I want all of the functional heads to really think about what is best for their teams and what that structure looks like. Yeah. I have given them one caveat, especially for QA and QC, and that is our manufacturing team is pretty much going to kind of dictate our schedule because they're manufacturing and we need to support them. So, but the teams have been looking at, like, do we go across shifts? What is that going to look like? Do I have to account for Saturday and Sunday work as well? And as our capacity increases, the things they have to think about and the way they're thinking about them is changing them because now, we're manufacturing more. And so that means, yes, we're probably going to have to come in on Saturday and Sunday a lot. Does that mean it has to be a full shift? We don't know yet, but they're, working through and trying to figure out what that looks like to then, make sure that their teams are growing to be able to support the manufacturing team.
Yeah, that's interesting. And obviously, as you add people into the team, you grow, you build leaders underneath you. Naturally, the culture of the organization will change. And then you get to a company over 50 people, and the processes around HR and all these things need to be implemented. How would you describe that sort of cultural change as you've gone from a quality unit of 4 to 60 plus people? How have you personally as a leader manage that transition?
So I would say it's funny you mentioned, HR and whatnot, and we've been, relying on our HR team to kind of help us build in, like different policies and whatnot. So we have, some of those things to stand on. because we didn't. And, as you grow, things happen, and you never thought about that when you were, first sitting out, to create your team. So, you have to be able to be flexible and nimble with those things as they come up, and then account for them and, learn from it and move forward. So, growing our teams, we're really trying to think about like what it is we need now, but then what we're going to need in the future as well, and when we're going to need that. And I know too, when we were talking about it, because we've been talking about our capacity and increasing that over time. And so I know my teams initially were really stuck on, well, I don't know if this is going to be enough to get to, like 10 lots a month. It's like, okay, well, why don't we make sure we hire in earlier rather than later, so that way we're prepared for it, but then you're going to know. And I would rather have more people earlier and have them trained. And that way, as we start, going through this, if you don't need more people, once we're at our full capacity, you've already got them hired in, then we don't have to hire those positions if we don't need to. But for what we do and how critical like different steps are, I just think it's better if we have our people earlier rather than later. And so that's been an interesting concept for them to kind of think through as far as what that looks like and how long it takes to train. Like our manufacturing team, they know it takes 6 months to train somebody to manufacture our product. And, so they're like within QC, they're like, well, it takes us a solid 3 months to train a lot of employees because of the assays that we do and just how, involved they are and unique that they are too, because they're designed specifically for our product. Yeah. So it's, kind of going through those things and making them think about that as well as like time to train and when we actually need them to balance how we expand.
Yeah. And then looking back, like any particular setbacks, challenges that stand out to you from that sort of side of things?
I was going to say, nothing's really coming to mind. I know, like, as a company, we've had, scratch that. Sorry.
That's okay.
No, I was gonna say, as far as setbacks go, there's, always some things. Sometimes, there's personnel issues and whatnot, or differences of opinion. But we just have to work through those as a team and make sure that we're all aligned. The one thing I like, and I think it helps everybody, is explaining the why of things. Mm-hmm. So, because oftentimes we have to make decisions, and I realize that not all of them are going to be liked, but, I do want to explain why. Sometimes there's things within our control that we can, do, other things we can't. But I think if people understand why certain things are done, it does help at least take the sting out of it if it's something they don't agree with.
Yeah. Have you yourself had mentors, internally, externally, that you've learned how to build a commercial quality unit from, or sort of build as a leader?
Yes, I was gonna say there's two individuals we were talking about,
right,
John and Ed, and the two of them are great resources. John was vice president of quality here at Abeona for a period of time, and so he is a great person to learn from and mentor. And actually, I know a couple of individuals here who've reached out to him about mentoring, so I think it's great that others, are seeing that. And then I value Ed, and there's another guy, Steve Rogenthien at SQA. The two of them have a lot of great perspectives. So if I have questions and whatnot, it's nice to have people to reach out to outside of the four walls of my company to kind of get an idea of if I'm being unreasonable or if I'm thinking about things right. So it's really great to have a network that you can rely on and go to when you have those questions.
Yeah. And then I suppose just to cap off kind of this sort of bit around going into your career, I suppose, how would you describe, how has your role changed now from a sort of a day-to-day perspective in this world that you're in now versus a year, 2 years ago?
It's changed a lot. I was gonna say it's really weird because I remember a couple of times I'd be like sitting at my desk and I'm like, I don't have anything like a physical piece of paper that I need to review, like a assay or a batch record, any of those things. Like I don't have anything like that. And then I'm like, okay, are there any SOPs I should be revising or any and no, those things go away. So those normal everyday things that you are now doing, you're not doing. And so there's a guy on my team, and he has this really great way of looking at it. And we were talking about this before, and it was, the thinking like down and in and up and out. So he's like, at your level, you have to think up and out. I was like, you're right. That's what we have to do. And he's, down and in his role within his team then. So it's, kind of thinking about things a little bit differently, and also, making sure that I'm thinking about the, future for our teams and what we're doing, making sure that they have enough work to do. Like our assay development team, they have been so focused on our one product, and what's the next thing, and kind of looking ahead to those things as well, for everybody, and different opportunities, and making sure that we're keeping people engaged. And so I feel like I'm doing more of that than signing my name off on something that I've reviewed and approved. Like, I don't do any of that anymore. So
that's the evolution, isn't it? That you do naturally as a leader, from sort of going into that bigger role, going from the tactical to strategic sort of side of things. And what about your team? How are they faring in that shift? Like, what are the challenges that they're facing from going from clinical to commercial?
So I was to say they're facing, I think it's probably what every company goes through, that goes from clinical to commercial, just the unknown of it all. For a lot of members here, they didn't really work at a commercial manufacturing facility before. Some of them came out of academia or other research labs and whatnot, so they're not really used to that part of it. So it's getting that mindset in place, because it is a very different mindset from what I've learned. I went from pretty much always working in a commercial manufacturing setting to coming to Abeona, and it's clinical, and I'm like, this world is very different to me. So it's getting their minds to kind of shift the way my mind was geared when I started here. And there's a lot of unknowns, and I think that is, understandably very stressful for everybody. But the one thing I like to tell them is, we get to make it up as we go, so we can make it how we want. It's not something that, somebody put in place that is forced on us. Like, everything's brand new here, so we get to make it up as we go, and we can make that however we want. And if it's not working, we can change it and make it something else. So I think sometimes when people have that much freedom, that can be a little daunting as well, because but it's kind of guiding them through all of that, then what that looks like.
Have they had to learn, I suppose, from a collaboration, working with other functions, your operations, your manufacturing, etc., like being in the quality side, saying no occasionally, or getting used to that transition? Like, how's that evolved? How's that been?
That's so my QA team is definitely going to have to learn there. And it's funny because they've asked, and they know it's there. It's just things are very different when you're in clinical phase as opposed to commercial. So yes, that's like, when do we get to say no? And it's like, well, whenever quality is impacted, you get to say no. And getting them in that mindset, because it's something they maybe haven't felt has really been there before. So it's, getting them there, that they're going to have to be okay with that and comfortable with that. And yes, we might fail a lot from time to time. It just happens, it's inevitable. And just being okay with that decision. It's not something that any of them are used to. So it's, making them feel comfortable with that. It's going to be very uncomfortable the first few times it happens, but it's inevitable. So,
well, especially when they've gone through this world where it doesn't happen as much, and it's and there's obviously good relationships between different functions and functional heads. So that becomes a challenge. But conversely, I guess for you, then you've gone from that, you've got that commercial experience, and you're going into the clinical setting. Like, what advice would you give to people that are in your position, that maybe have gone, they worked in mainly commercial manufacturing all their life, and then they go into a clinical stage biotech and on that same journey? Are there any kind of key bits of advice you would give?
Keep an open mind. And it's funny, I had a boss at CRL who had said, it was so funny, she started at the beginning of the year with this to the QA organization, and it was, get comfortable being uncomfortable. And that really resonates. And so there's, it's an uncomfortable space at times, and navigating that and trying to, figure out what that is, especially when you're so used to commercial manufacturing. The clinical side, it can be very different. So it's, for me, it was very uncomfortable at first. And so it was just getting kind of wrapping my arms around that and what that is, and, why things are still okay, and, learning a different part of quality that I was not familiar with before.
is it just a case of embracing it
Yeah.
at the start?
Yeah. Just have to embrace the uncomfortable. So, and it's funny because I've said that enough here that some people are starting to feel like understand it. But I think it
Yeah.
is, it's a weird mind shift. Like when you think about things of if this is always uncomfortable and you just learn to just be comfortable with it, nothing feels uncomfortable anymore. So,
Right. Yeah. How did it feel, getting that approval? Like a lot of hard work and blood, sweat, and tears have gone into it. You've been on a journey. Like from a personal perspective, it must be an enormous, amazing feeling. What did it feel like? Talk us through that day when you found out. How did it all happen?
it was an amazing feeling. Totally. It was so funny. We all expected it to happen. It was just when it did, I think everybody was still, I know I was still in shock, just because it was that day finally came. So it was speechless might be a good way to describe how I was, just because it was just in awe of the fact that we got through all of that. It was a lot of work. We have a lot of very dedicated and wonderful people here that do are very passionate about what they do, which is really awesome too. It I think helps our whole entire company, like motivates them, to keep doing what we do. And
Mm.
so, knowing that we got approval and that all of that hard work and that dedication, was not for nothing. It was just, it was a wonderful feeling.
How does that get communicated? Like, does an email go around? Does the CEO get up on the stage and hold the mic? Like, what does that
Um,
look like?
yeah, we did have to scramble to call a town hall pretty quick to let everybody
Yeah,
know. So, but
yeah,
and there's press releases and all of those things too. So it was, yeah, there's a sequence of events that has to happen. But yeah, we were scrambling to get everybody together quickly to go through it. So,
yeah,
and we had to do it virtually because we didn't know when it was going to happen. So it's not like we could have everybody here. So,
yeah,
but it works. It all worked out. It was really great, and the energy here was really great too.
yeah. Brilliant. So that was in earlier this year, March, April time, was it?
Mhm.
So looking ahead now,
Mhm.
what what are you excited about?
Well, we are going to launch our products, and I'm very excited about that. And excited about the fact that we're no longer going to be treating patients under this clinical protocol. And it's not that that's a bad thing at all. It's just it, I think it can be a little restrictive as far as when we can actually treat patients, because it's finding somebody that is applicable for the study and getting them enrolled. And there's this whole process.
Mm,
Whereas now I think we're going to be able to treat people a little bit quicker in that respect. So that'll be nice. And once we start getting into a regular manufacturing cadence, that'll be great too. So
mm,
yeah, I'm looking forward to all of those things, just because I think it'll provide us maybe a little bit more structure than we had when we were under our clinical trial,
yeah,
just because we didn't have a very large trial and we weren't treating patients like once a month. We could have gone a few months without treating anybody. So just because
yeah,
of having to enroll and getting patients to travel and whatnot. So now I think
yeah.
we'll have a regular schedule, and that'll be exciting to see, just because it'll be uncomfortable for everybody at first. But once we start getting the hang of it and they start getting used to it, I think they'll surprise themselves.
As you're and just and then that's really exciting. Like you've been such a good journey. But I suppose now with the team that you've got, with you growing company, how as a leader, how do you sort of maintain the culture that you've created as you grow, but also like how do you look after your team, make sure that they're remaining sort of motivated and you're remaining motivated yourself personally as a leader, because you've got to for you to get the best out of them, you've got to be on good form yourself.
Mhm.
So are there any mechanisms that you have to one maintain a good culture within your unit, your function, and B, just make sure that the team and yourself remain um, motivated on
Mhm.
good consistent behaviors.
So yeah, I was gonna say our company is great in the fact that we encourage the teams to stop and take some time and just hang out together and whatnot. So it could be going out to lunch or maybe happy hour after work, and making sure that they're doing like some sort of team function like with their teams. So
Yeah.
it's making sure that my direct reports are doing that for their teams, just because I think that does help with everybody, like keeping them motivated a little bit, but also just we're humans, we're not just bodies working here, and making sure that they're making those connections
Yeah.
and getting to know everybody. The one thing I like and I need to do more of is skip level meetings, and talking to just different individuals and just seeing how things are going, what's working, what's not working, and learning from them that way. I think is a valuable thing. I do need to do more of those meetings, and now that we're going to be going into commercial manufacturing, definitely need to set those up and go through those. But I've done them in the past, and I like them just because I do learn things about people. I'm loving Gen Z right now because they have no problems coming and asking questions and telling you anything. And I think
Right.
that's really great. I know my generation was not like that. So I think that's also really great too. And just, learning from the different generations. So.
Yeah, nice. What about you then? Are there any things that you do to try and sort of switch off and maintain, not burn out and maintain a good enough work-life balance? I know it's very difficult, particularly in that sort of run up to commercialization, but how have you managed to stay sane throughout all of this?
Well, I was gonna say the one thing I have to say is, having a great team is
Mm-hmm.
when I take a week off, I can take a week off.
Yeah.
I don't have to worry. So like I'm available if needed, but I don't have to worry. Like I know that, they have things covered and they know what to do. They only
Yeah.
reach out if they think it is the worst emergency ever and that they need to.
Yeah.
But they handle everything, and that is a great feeling for me. Like I can just take that week off then. So that's been
Yeah.
extremely helpful.
Good. Well, that's a testament to the team that you've built, the culture you've created. So, you've created that environment for yourself. So well done, Megan. That's been a fantastic conversation. We end the episode with some quick fire questions. So, first question is around your values. What are the three most important values that you personally live and die by?
Oh, integrity. I like that one a lot. Let's see. Well, I mean quality, and everything has to be of high quality. And then respect. So I think we need to respect everybody. It's not earned, or what's earned, it's not given. So I live by
Yeah.
that too.
Nice. If you were hiring, well, if and when you're hiring for your successor
Mhm.
or successors, what qualities and skills would you be looking for?
Wow. Let's see. I think somebody that has, well-rounded backgrounds, that's worked in the industry for a while, a variety of different company types, just because I think you do learn a lot, because there is, like medical device manufacturing and sterile injectable products, and they're very different. And so I think, you learn a lot of different things that are transferable amongst them. But I think that creates a very diverse background then for somebody, which is really good in our industry. Um, just because, especially too, with cell and gene therapy taking off like it is,
Yeah.
it's a very different ballgame. And I think, having a lot of different experiences to draw from is very helpful. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Very good. This could be personally or professionally, but is there anyone in your life or who in your life has been the biggest inspiration? Again, whether that be personally or professionally.
So I would say, and I think counts both, but my grandmothers,
Okay.
they are no longer with us, but they both lived very long lives, and they both had a lot of obstacles to overcome throughout their lives. I mean, one was born in 1923, one was born in 1933. So there were a lot of things that were very different for them. And they were very, very independent women. So they're very inspiring to me.
Amazing. Final question. What one piece of advice would you give to future aspiring quality leaders?
Um, well, I would say keep an open mind, because, the way you think something maybe isn't exactly what is happening at the time. So I think you definitely need to keep an open mind about things, remaining flexible and nimble, and, really just being able to, kind of make decisions, even if they're tough, with the information that you have. We're not always going to know everything. sometimes we're making decisions and we just have to be comfortable with that. So.
Brilliant. Megan, thanks so much. Really enjoyed the conversation. I think it's been really insightful for anyone that is going through that transition from clinical to commercial, or from someone that's sort of recently joined a clinical stage biotech from a commercial background. But either way, it's a great story, and congratulations on everything that you and Abeona have achieved and will continue to achieve for the patients in that population. So really excited to see where it all goes and where your career goes. So thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Pleasure. Speak soon.
Okay, bye.
Thank you for listening to today's show. I hope that you got value from it, whether you're starting your career in quality or if you're at the top of your field. Today's episode was brought to you by RX Group. I'm the founder of RX Group. We are a pharma and biotech recruitment organization focusing purely on quality assurance. We recruit consultants and senior level permanent quality professionals into the pharma and biotech industry. If we can support you, whether that be in a hiring capacity or if you yourself are looking for work, please get in touch with me on LinkedIn, visit our LinkedIn page where you can subscribe to the podcast, and visit our website, www.rx-group.io, to find out more about us. See you soon.